don't forget, because that is my greatest fear. Let's see. Okay, so I will, if you're ready, I can open up the doors and let people come in. And then I will just do a quick introduction at 2:30 and you'll be good to go.
Great.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Sure. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. We'll be getting started in about 2 minutes. Feel free to say hello in chat. Share your summit experience so far. We'd love to hear how it's going for you. Some highlights from sessions that you've attended, things that are standing out to you from the keynote, or anything else that you'd like to share. Hey everyone, oh, we got people from all over. It's great. I think that's been one of the, talking earlier with the presenters, one of the silver linings of being remote is being able to welcome people from all over the country to the Information Literacy Summit, which traditionally for the 19 of these prior to the pandemic, 18 of these prior to the pandemic, have all been in local at Moraine Valley Community College, with just, you know, people who can visit us, drive in for the day. So it's wonderful to have so many people from all over the country, different time zones. And it is now 2:30. I know we still have a couple more people dropping in. The numbers are going up. Just give it a second here. All right, let's get started. Welcome everyone to the last breakout session of the 20th Annual Information Literacy Summit. This is Breakout Room B, adding a little mystery to a university FYE program, how librarians developed a mystery game to teach fundamental search skills to first years, with Yihan and Nichole Novak, both of the Illinois Institute of Technology. I will turn it over to them now.
Great, thank you. So I am Nichole Novak. I'm the online learning and instruction librarian at Illinois Tech, and I'm joined by my colleague.
Hi, I'm Yihan. I am the Assistant Dean for Student Engagement here at Illinois Tech.
And so we appreciate you showing up for the last session of the day. So today, this is what we're going to cover. We will give you a little bit of background about Illinois Tech, and then discuss how we developed and ran the mystery game that we developed for first years. We'll go over some suggestions and best practices, and we hope to have time for questions and answers at the end. Although if you have, you can always drop questions in the chat as we go along. So in case you're not familiar with Illinois Institute of Technology, the university is located in the Bronzeville neighborhood of Chicago. It's a private nonprofit STEM university. And on campus, we have a lot of Mies van der Rohe buildings. Mies was a famous architect. He was on our faculty, and not only designed several buildings on campus, but is responsible for our main campus plan. And these are some examples of his work. The black and white photo is Crown Hall and the home of our College of Architecture. And then the other building is Carr Chapel. So a little bit about our students. We have roughly 6,500 students representing over 100 different countries, and about 37% of our student population is international. E will go into more detail about how our partnership with Illinois Tech's first year experience program developed, but this is just a little background information about the program. So all incoming students, including transfer and international students, are required to enroll in the class. So in the fall of 2021, which is when we launched our mystery game, there are around 500 students in the course. It is a non-credit course, and they meet weekly. They have large group seminars, small cohort discussions, and one-on-one check-ins with their FYE mentors. So some of the seminar topics include campus resources, support, and services. And this is sort of where the library fit in. College transition, understanding their personal learning styles, creating a career plan, and communication skills.
And in the next few slides, we are going to discuss how we develop the library FYE game. And it all started with a partnership among the library, the undergraduate admission office, and the Office of Campus Life. In other universities, some of them are called Student Life, Office of Student Life. The university FYE program was first launched in fall 2020 by the undergraduate admission office. So it's kind of relatively young program in our institution. And during fall 2021, the program was transitioned to the Office Campus Life in the middle of the semester. So we ended up coordinating with the two offices for this program. And when talking to the FYE instructor, we learned information about this program. The program was pretty packed. There was not much room for the library participation, the time. And they suggested having a one-shot session for all 500 students in the seminar hall, or one-shot session for each cohort group. So we ended up choosing to have a one-shot session for each cohort group. It wasn't the most ideal situation, but we'll take it. And the regular group meeting is usually 1 hour. So we decided to use the same amount of time. And due to the size of library instructional space, we unfortunately cannot host a session for more than 30 students at a time in the library. And each cohort has a student mentor. The mentors are responsible for bringing their group to the library session. So we coordinated with the mentors as well, instead of putting effort in the promotion. And our instruction request is the students can be familiar with library spaces, resources, and services. It is basically the same learning outcomes as the library orientation program. So we wanted to develop a session that does not overlap the library orientation program. A little side note here, the fundamental information literacy skills are taught in a few other university required writing courses, including Humanity 200, Communication 101, and some university library first year experience program focus more on the IL skills. But for us, we think the learning outcomes here is appropriate for this program. And Nichole will discuss more about the planning process.
We did have a question. Someone asked, why is it a non-credit course? And I'm not entirely sure why it's a non-credit course.
I think it's still the program is kind of relatively young. I guess they're still trying to find ways, and we all hope it's a required course. And I don't know for the fall semester what that would be, but currently it's not.
So before I jump into developing how we develop the learning goals, I wanted to talk a little bit about the development of the formation of the team. So E was at the time the head of reference and instruction, and she was sort of the go-between between our partner departments and the library. And so she put together a team of 3 librarians. So it was our information literacy librarian, and then I was the 3rd member of the team, and I'm the online learning and instruction librarian. And we started our planning about 3 months out from when we were going to launch the game. Early on, had mentioned to the team, she was interested in escape rooms and mystery games. So that sort of gave us, we liked that idea. And so we started to do some research. Initially, we were meeting bi-weekly, and we would sort of go off, do some research. We looked at what other universities, particularly STEM universities, what they were doing with their FYE programs. Escape rooms were very popular with public libraries during the pandemic. So we took a look at what they were doing in the public library spaces. Then we would come back and share articles and books and websites and things like that. And then sort of as we gained momentum, we switched to meeting weekly so that we would make sure to get everything done in time to launch the game. Mentioned that we got some input from the FYE program in terms of what they hoped the one-shot session would accomplish. And then also, obviously, we had input. And so here were the learning goals that we came up with. Students would be able to look up a book in the catalog and find it on the shelf. Students would be able to check out a book on reserve. This one was really important to the library team because we have an undergraduate textbook collection on reserve. So we try to have at least one copy of all undergraduate textbooks, required textbooks, on reserve in the library. It's a very popular service, and we're always looking for ways to promote it, but not only promote it, but have students understand that we have it and how it works, because having items on reserve aren't necessarily something that everyone around the world is used to. So we wanted to make sure that they understood that we had the service and how it worked. That students would become more comfortable asking librarians for help after interacting with them over the course of the game. Students would be able to use the library website to find important information, and that they would gain familiarity with the library's physical layout. So since we decided on a mystery game, we had to have a mystery. And our mystery was, there was a professor who was doing research about Mies van der Rohe because she was going to write an article in honor of his 135th birthday. And she felt that one of her, like her arch enemy or her nemesis, was trying to steal her research. So she was gathering it in a folder that she hid in the library, and had these clues to find the folder, and the students were helping her find the folder. And so that was whichever team found the folder at the end of the game, that was the winning team. So we created 6 clues, and each clue took the team to a different space in Galvin Library. And librarians staffed each space to hand students their next clues and give hints as necessary. And we brainstormed on the clues. Some of us were better at coming up with clues than others. And the clues that we came up with, we had a bibliography with a hidden message, a book cover puzzle, a cipher, invisible ink clue, a word scramble. And then the last one, the game started and ended in our the art gallery that we have in the library. And so the last clue that would get them back to the gallery was a photograph of a painting. And the first letter of each word of the description that we had with the painting spells out the name of Galvin Library's art gallery. So the other thing is we wanted actual physical clues. We had looked at different ways of running the mystery game. We thought about doing something online or having the clues online. We looked at Google Forms, LibGuides, websites, Padlets, but we decided to create physical clues because we really wanted everyone to be in the library, come to the library, interact with the librarians, and it was sort of because it was fall of 2021 and we were all returning to campus. And so we just thought it would be great to be back together. So one of the clues that we came up with was this cipher clue. So in the resource bag, which I'm going to talk about a little bit later, they had the key to the cipher clue. And so hopefully when they opened the clue with the cipher in it, they would realize that they had the key in their resource bag. But we thought it would be fun to give all of you maybe just 2 minutes to see if you can solve the cipher. And if you do, you can drop your answer in chat. And we're just, maybe 2 minutes.
And just to clarify, your job is trying to figure out this code. So that's also one of the riddle students will see at the station, and then they will find, the cipher code in their resource bag. We already have people putting answers.
Yeah, that's great.
1 minute only, less than a minute, I'll say.
Well, I have to say that I was completely unfamiliar with the cipher, so this was all. I understand, Kelsey, what you're saying, because I am bad at them also. But our teams were working in our students were working in teams, so we hope that somebody in the team would figure it out. So since we have several answers in the chat, we will move on. So A World History of Photography is the answer, and it's one of the books that we have on reserve.
Do you want to talk about, so if you're not sure how to find the answer, is look at the structure.
Right. So it is what's known as a pig pen cipher. I'd never heard of that before. So the first one is looks like a backwards L. And so what it is, it replaces letters with symbols. So if you look at the grid, the A is sitting in the corresponding shape, the backwards L. And then the first letter of the next word is a V with a dot in it. So we have 2 V's. The first one is a V, but there's no dot. So you want to look at the next one, which is a V with a dot in it, and it's the letter W. And then so you just keep looking for the shapes in the grids and filling in the letters for each shape. The other thing that we were concerned about is potentially we could have 4 to 6 teams competing at the same time. And we didn't want there to be, there was the possibility that there would be one team that was just sort of racing through the clues, solving everything really quickly, and everybody else would just follow that team. And then potentially we could have traffic jams at our service desks. So what we did was we wanted to give each team their starting clue was a different clue. So we have this grid. The team names are across the top, and we just use colors to keep it simple for the team names. And then the columns underneath, that's how they moved through the spaces. So for example, Team Red, their first stop or their first clue would take them to GSS, which is our group study suite. Green went to UASC, which is University Archives and Special Collections. Blue went to RHO, the Research Help Office. Orange went to Reserves. Purple went to Stacks. We realized early on that in trying to keep the teams separated, there was a lot of up and down, and that potentially could be a problem for students with mobility issues. And so we created the route for the Black team, and we all started on the second floor. Galvin Library only has 2 floors, and we do have an elevator. We all started upstairs in the Kemper room, the art gallery. And so the Black team, then their first two clues kept them upstairs on the second level. Then they could take the elevator down. Their next 3 clues would all be on the lower level. And then we all would regroup, reassemble in Kemper, and they could take the elevator back up. So that minimized their up and down. We also, I cannot stress the importance, I can't stress enough the importance of test runs. And so we did test runs with library student workers as well as librarians. And then we revised clues on their feedback. I remember the first test run we did with the library student workers, there was one clue they just could not solve. And so when we were developing these clues, we wanted them to be challenging, but not so challenging that they would frustrate or discourage the students. And this first clue sort of fell in that category. So we realized, yeah, we have to make this a little bit easier. Also, the librarians, we felt it was important for them to participate in test runs. Number one, we wanted their feedback, but also potentially they may be at a service desk when the game was going on. And so we wanted them to understand the game, what was happening, why students were coming up and asking for clues. The other thing the test run provided was give us information about the timing of the game. Because as E mentioned, we only had an hour with the students, and we did have an intro and a wrap up at the end. So we had to make sure that they could finish the game in a timely fashion, and that we weren't running over. So here are the materials that we used, and this was really an almost no cost program that we ran. So each team received a resource bag, and we used these orange drawstring bags that we had received from a vendor years ago, and each bag had the cipher key, rules sheet, how-to handouts. The how-to handouts were how to use the catalog, how to find a book on the shelf, their first clue, map of the library, marker, pen, and a notepad. By using the orange bags, the neon orange bags, it also let us identify which groups were participating in the game as we were moving around the library, making sure everybody was doing okay. We knew if they were walking around with an orange drawstring bag that they were probably playing our game. After the game was over, all the participants received buttons, and we have a button maker in our exploration space, so we just made the buttons. They received a library service flyer, and this was the only thing that we spent money on, the fidget toys. And we used to, candy, food of any type is always really popular with our students, but because this was fall of 2021, we were still wearing masks, so we wanted to stay away from food. So we went with fidget toys, and we were really surprised at how popular they were and how much the students really liked them. And then they also, we gave them an exit survey to fill out.
And I think we can talk about how we actually run the game. So we scheduled 27 sessions for 27 cohort groups in September 2021 via Leap Call, which we used to schedule library workshop and events. And ideally, we would like to have 25 to 30 students per session, so we could have 4 to 6 teams play the games at the same time. And I had a check-in meeting with the FYE instructor in August before school starts and shared the library mystery game with her. She absolutely loved it and told me that she would let the mentors know about the game and ask them to select a game session for their groups. Once mentors signed up for time, I followed up with them with confirmation. The communication was smooth with the instructor in the beginning. It started to get a little bumpy with the student mentors, and also when the program was transitioned to another office. For example, their late response, sign up delays, cancellation, and rescheduling. And there was another issue which I will discuss later in the suggestion part.
So we created pre-game and post-game checklists. The pre-game checklist we would run through 30 minutes prior to start time. We wanted to make sure that the resource bags had all the materials that the students would need and the correct first clue. We wanted to make sure that none of the clues had any writing on them from previous runnings, previous teams. And so we made extra copies of all the clues and just had them in folders. So if we needed to toss a clue, we could just grab a replacement easily and put it in the bag. We also would look at the little notebooks that we gave them, and if there were any pages that were written on, we would rip those out and then hand out the clues to appropriate staff. The post-game checklist in terms of checking the bags and checking the clues and the notepad, it was exactly the same. The only difference was we would gather up the resource bags from the participants and take them back to the reference office. And then also we were keeping statistics, and we used LibInsights for that. And so one of us would record the statistics into LibInsights after each running of the game.
And we will also review all the survey, the active survey when students fill that before they leave, before they leave. Jump too fast. So here is a quick rundown of the game from our lesson plan. And that includes the time slots for each section. So first introduction, and then the game activity would give them about 30 to 40 minutes to play. And then finally we'll have a wrap up and QA session. So after the intro, we divide students into groups of 3 to 5, and we read the story, let them know their task, and also set up ground rules. Then we give each group their resource back. And when the game starts, we have the one librarian stay in the classroom and give hints in case any group come back ask for hints. And we have other participating librarians walked around and checked on how the groups are doing, any groups getting stuck. So we, or anyone needs hints, we'll give them hints so they don't give up and feeling frustrated. And then when everybody return, we will give out the prize to the winning team, and which is fidget toys and buttons for everybody. And we'll ended up with a wrap-up discussion, highlighted all the key services and resources we have in the library. And usually in this part, students have a lot of good questions because they trying to search stuff, they know some area looks different, so they ask a lot of good questions. And then on their way out, we give them the survey and handout. So here are 3 questions we ask on their active surveys. First, what are the 3 most important things you learned in this session? Do you feel more prepared to use the library after the session? And then, is there anything you still have question about? They can leave their email and their name. We can follow up with them. And here are the feedbacks from our students. We received overwhelmingly positive feedback, and I'll give you 20-30 seconds to go over them. And the top 3 answers to what they learned include locations of the library areas, how to find books, who to ask for help, which is exactly everything we want them to learn. It addressed all learning goals. And my personal favorite one is librarians aren't scary to talk to. And we also received some unexpected, surprisingly pleasant comments about the game that helped them build soft skills. As you can see, teamwork, collaboration, communication were all mentioned over here. So I think a team building, problem solving, communication can be added as another learning outcome for this library program. And at the end of the game, most students told us they had a lot of fun. Students were pumped during the wrap-up session, as I mentioned, and they all talk about which puzzles really got them and which were their favorite puzzles, and they asked really good questions. We did encounter some challenges as well. The low attendance was one of the biggest. This is a non-credit course. So as you can imagine, it is a required course, but as the semester goes by, the attendance rate goes lower and lower. Students recognize there's no real consequences, I guess. We learned from the mentors that the cohort meetings have low participation in general. We had to reduce the number of scheduled sessions, so we later allowed 2 or 3 groups, cohort groups coming to one session at the same time. And we also work with the FYE program to give students points in Suitable by participating in the library game. Suitable is our mobile student engagement platform. Staffing challenge was another one. We needed at least 2 teaching librarians for each session. with the remote work schedule, it was not easy to schedule library staff. And during that time, as Nichole mentioned, we started going back to campus on a regular basis. Everyone was trying to adapt to the new norm from working remotely previously. So it was hard for people to step in some new initiative right away, especially in this kind of in-person group activities. That was totally understandable. And luckily, we were able to schedule 2 librarians for most of our sessions. And I mentioned the communication challenges with the student mentors earlier. Besides the ones we already discussed, several of them told us they didn't know it would be a game. They and their students all thought it would be another lecture. So there were some misunderstandings and miscommunication between them and the program instructor. The library sign sheet actually indicated it is a game. Obviously, they did not read it. Finally, the game session conflict with student class schedule. And the mentors gave us some good suggestions. In the future, we could run the game during the regular meeting time, during their regular meeting time, which is lunchtime. And the earlier of the semester, the better. They suggested offering it during the welcome and orientation week. They found they have the most student engagement and participating during that time.
We had a question in the chat. What did students use suitable points for?
Suitable, I think it is a Campus Live. They use that for online program. And students, whenever they're attending any campus events, they will earn points. And I think at the end of the semester, whoever get the highest point, there is a prize. It's either whether, I think for first year experience, which group have the highest point, they will offer a pizza party, like a free pizza party by the university. So it's such kind of thing. And I know we have a few other questions, looks like, but let's just keep moving and we will answer all of them tried at the end. So finally, here are some suggestions if you're interested in developing some mystery game or scavenger hunt or escape room in your library. First thing to consider is resources and planning. Start planning early. The most time-consuming part of developing this whole program is actually the planning part. It took us 3 months, but I don't think 4 months would hurt. So, so if you are interested in this, sounds crucial. Right after finals next month, maybe you can start jumping planning something this for your next fall semester. And consider what resources you already have in the library. That includes your staff resources, your building layout, the size of your classroom, those kind of things. And then start seeking campus collaborators. Find out who runs the FYE program on your campus and information about the program as well. And staff involvement, that includes recruit planning team, trying to build a diverse team if you could, and also think about your student population. Consider how many library staff you would require per game session. And the promotion and timing of delivering the sessions are important area of consideration. For us, we will need to find another time for this session. And if the FYE program on your campus is a mandatory program, you don't need to worry about the promotion. But if it's not like ours, you may want to think about include prizes for motivation and participation. That includes the points in suitable earning badges or any winning prizes for the game. And then communication with the FYE instructor and mentors regularly. So this would avoid miscommunication, misunderstanding. And for us, we are thinking about talk to the mentors during the mentor training session before this whole program. So we want our mentors to know what exactly this library program so they can share with their students and they can help us to promote it and recruit students for the session. And here are some best practices for designing the game. Some of them are from our own experience, some of them are from our research. So first, set clear learning goals. And then we would recommend have 4 to 6 puzzle riddles per game we had 6, and it is about 30 to 40 minutes game. So it depends on how long you have for the session. And then try to keep the team size at 5 or smaller. We found whenever a team is so big, it kind of discouraged the group involvement. Some people would not like to participate. And add a group component competition. Component is key. It really increases the motivation. So when we had only one team playing the game, sometimes it takes them 40 to 15 minutes to finish it. But when we had more than 2, more than 3 teams, they're really motivated, and the fast team only took 19 minutes, and that's still a record, which is way faster than the library staff when we play the game. And also give students a clear starting point. They know which is their first clue, which one they need to start. And include some handouts, test runs with staff first for feedback. Nichole already addressed that. It really helped us to adjust some of our clues and puzzles. And I had to admit it, the really hard, challenging clue, it was from me. I made it. I was, as a gamer, I love board games and escape room sort of thing. So I don't know why, when I was developing the game, in this mode, like they can't figure that out so easy. So I kind of like in that gamer zone. And then the test run really told us, oh, that's very frustrating for our students. So yeah, a few challenges are okay, but not too difficult. The goal is not to fail them. Prepare 1 or 2 hints for each clue and allow your students to ask for hints. So this way they don't, give up in the middle of the game and just leave. Finally, also the most important, try to have fun. I had a little too much fun. That's why I made it a little hard, but none of us had experiences designing games before, and not all of us have played escape rooms. But it doesn't matter. There are a lot of resources out there. And if you have student staff that you could include in your planning team, that would be great as well, because they know exactly, what kind of thing they are interested in. And we also list a few articles and the games where we get ideas from in the reference section.
And I would just add that diversity in our planning team and in the groups that we used for test runs were important. So not only international versus not international participation, but also in terms of mobility. That's how we sort of recognized, oh, maybe we need an accessible route. And then diversity in age, because we worked with everybody from student workers up to some of our older librarians. So as diverse as you can make your group, you're not only the planning team, but then also people that are going to give you feedback, I think makes the game better.
Exactly. And in conclusion, we think that was a really successful program, and it is innovative student self-led curriculum. It has minimal staff and instructional requirement. The most time required is to set up the pre and post game part. So we could, offer this session 2 or 3 times a day, because the only instruction requirement is to wrap up and also giving out the clue. And it requires small or almost no budget. And if your library already have a library swag, you probably don't need to purchase any prizes, but there's also tools out there. If you wanted to buy to set up an escape room or some locks, there are some tools out there. So, but it's our minimal budget requirement. And it is a great collaboration opportunity with campus partners. And it is a fun, engaging experience for all of us, not only our students, but as we mentioned, our librarians as well. It's a good plan also you can use for orientation. And we're consider maybe use it for the fall semester, use it for our new student staff training, because it's really good team building activity.
And I think I don't have anything else to add. Here are references, and we are happy to take questions if anybody has questions. Checking chat.
Yes, we do have about not quite 10 minutes left if people want to ask some questions. Oh, we've got one. Can you share statistics you kept? People can also unmute if they're interested in too.
The stats about how many people are, like in our stats, we record how the session went and how many people are in the session. For each session, are you interested in to know that kind of stats or the feedback? The feedback were very positive. I pull out some of them out, like the direct feedback from our students. The stats, well, I'm trying to think. At first it was depressing because it was our first experience learning, like, oh, students, you know, they had such low attendance. Because I guess when we had meeting with the first year instructor, they didn't really tell us how did it went last, you know, the year before. But the year before was for like fall semester 2020. So it's a different world. So we didn't really consider that part. But for us, I think for the first few sessions, we had only 5 people attending, which we designed trying to have 25 to 30 people. And some cohort only have 2 or 3 students coming to the session. So at first we're like, how are we gonna do this? We're only like, we schedule all this time only for such a small group. It just feels like, you know, wasting of time. But that's why later we had to combine them. And we ended, I think we told, I don't remember the number now, feels like years ago. But I think we have like, when we have more than 15 or some, we're very happy. Because whenever there's a bigger size like that, students find it more fun. But some sessions we only had 5, 6 students, and the mentor will be part of that. They will play with them as well. I hope I answered your question. Nichole, if there's anything you wanted to add? Again, it feels like it's years ago we're doing this.
Right, doesn't it? Right. As you mentioned, just our participation was low in the beginning, and then when we started combining groups, we would have bigger groups. And just in general, our students tend to be very competitive, and so that's why I think it was more successful. They tried harder when they were competing against more of their colleagues. We see this when we use Kahoot in an instruction session, how competitive they are. So I saw another question. I don't know, E, if you saw it. Someone asked if you have any escape or puzzle game brands that you enjoy.
Yes, that's why I pull out this reference. One of the game I love is a board game, Escape Room. It's the end of the day. I can't talk, sorry. But so this is the link, and they have several board games. It's like escape from a box. So it's like a pandemic escape room. You couldn't do it in person. And I played several during the pandemic, and there are some really smart puzzles inside. And that's where we get the bibliography secret message or some other kind of puzzle idea from it. And also there's some website over here have some really cute DIY escape room ideas, and they can design, you can design at home, play with your children. That's more like very home DIY, but there's some really smart idea over there as well. Welcome. And I saw a question, is orientation required for students? It is required. Our orientation program, so in summer, we have several orientation sessions in June, in July, in August. And then students, they can choose whichever session they can come on campus. In August, we will have a big one right before school starts, but we also have several sessions in June and July. So we see students in June Before the pandemic, we give them a tour of the building. We have a little team competition activity at the end. And because it's really early, we don't want to show them the catalog because when they come back, they probably don't remember a thing after 3 months. So it's very like showing them the building layout, everything. And during pandemic, that turned into a online platform. So I will say it's required, but I don't know how do they keep that. They just tell students it's required. So a lot of students attend, but there's also students don't attend, I think.
We have just a couple of minutes if there's other additional questions.
The only thing that we had to purchase were the fidget toys. We either made everything. As I mentioned, the resource bags were bags that we had gotten from vendors that we just reused. We made all the clues and the handouts. So really, I think the only thing we paid for were the fidget toys.
And they were very affordable, I would say, on Amazon. We got them on Amazon. And we were surprised how much students love them. Because at first we were like, oh, can we give them out? They're literally toys. But I guess it fit into the game theme. Because after playing a game, they're like, oh, I got a toy after that. So it's like, oh, that's cute.
Yeah. And the buttons we made in-house also. So we already had all the supplies and the button maker.
That is so great. I want to thank you both so much for taking the time to talk about this with us. I think people were really excited and engaged in hearing about it, and it's such a cool thing to be able to do. So a round of applause for our presenters, and thank you so much for anchoring this breakout room. This is the closing session, and we have a really great participation, and I'm really excited about it. And so for those of everyone who is still here, you can look forward all of the recordings from all of the sessions on the Information Literacy website, probably in the next couple of weeks. So thank you all so much once again. And Nichole and E, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.